Welcome to our 2022 Prep Parent Information Session. The English curriculum is broken up into reading, writing, and speaking and listening. All of our English curriculum is rich and purposeful learning experiences with a clear focus that is communicated to students in every lesson through a learning intention, so they always know what we're learning about and why we're learning it. We use structured literacy as our framework to provide support for student learning at Springside College, and through structured literacy we have a really targeted approach to both reading and writing that really rests upon a foundation of strong speaking and listening skills. Students first learn to read through rich oral language and print awareness. This is their ability to talk and describe and interact with the world around them, and print awareness is to do with how they orientate themselves with print, such as knowing which is the front of a book, turning pages, the direction that we read, left to right, top to bottom, and knowing the difference between pictures and words. Then we develop their phonological awareness, and phonological awareness is about the spoken sounds that we hear that make up words and sentences. In phonics, we use a structured synthetic phonics program at Springside, which is evidence-based and has been backed by the research of education all over the world. Then we move on to expanding our vocabularies, applying fluency to our reading, which is both reading rate and expression. And lastly, the product of efficient readers is their ability to comprehend. So their literal comprehension, what's happening in the book, their inferential comprehension, which is what does that mean, why a character is doing something or how a character might be feeling, and then the analytical type of comprehension, which is this a storybook, is this a facts book, non-fiction, fiction, and the features of those texts. Phonological awareness is a really important aspect of learning how to read and write. This is the staircase or the hierarchy of phonological awareness skills. First is the ability to break words up into syllables such as rainbow, hot dog. The next level of skill is rhyme awareness and production. Can they notice words that rhyme like cat, hat, bat? And can they produce their own word that rhymes with those, mat, sat? Then we move on to alliteration, sorting the initial and final sounds in words. Do they know that cat and cap both start with a k sound? Do they know that sit and sat both end in a t sound? We move on to onset and rhyme segmentation. Can they produce the onset, the k, and the rhyme at, k at, b at? These are all parts of onset and rhyme segmentation. Initial and final sound segmentation, which is when we start to break apart words, that cat starts with a k and ends with a t. Can we blend sounds into words? If I've got k, a, t, can I put that together to say cat? Segmenting words, if I hear cat, can I separate the sounds or the phonemes into k, a, t? And then finally, the most sophisticated level of phonological awareness is deleting and manipulating sounds. So if I say the word flat and I don't say the ul, what word am I left with? These are the hierarchy of skills that we build over prep and year one, and they are fundamental to learning how to read and spell. At Springside Primary School, we use Little Learners Love Literacy as part of our structured synthetic phonics program. And you're going to hear a lot about Milo the Monkey when your child starts prep. Milo the Monkey is a book that we read over 2 terms, and we introduce ourselves to the most common sounds of all of the alphabet. And then we start moving on to some digraphs and blends as well. These are the characters you'll meet, and we have a birthday party for Milo about halfway through the year. And it's a really engaging way for kids to learn about the most common sounds that the letters of our alphabet make, and then starting to get into more sophisticated levels of the alphabetic code, which are vowel sounds, as we have 26 letters in our alphabet, but we have 44 phoneme sounds, it is quite a complicated process to learn. So Milo the monkey and all of his friends make it a really fun and engaging thing for the kids to do in the classroom, and it's really exciting when we finally get to go to Milo's surprise birthday party. Part of our initial reading instruction, once we understand the letters and sounds associated with those letters, we start learning how to read by ourselves, and we teach our students these independent reading behaviours. So what are the things I need to do to make sure that I can read and work through a text all by myself? And we use decodable texts at Springside. Here are some examples. We've got Sam, Pip and Tim. The difference between decodable text and predictable text is that the sounds that the letters make that are represented in these words are controlled, so that the kids are reading books with the sounds that they've learnt so far, and as they learn more sounds, they have access to more difficult books as they go along, so that they can find success in reading independently early on, and we can start building some really strong readers who have a lot of self-esteem when it comes to learning how to read and wanting to tackle unfamiliar words. You guys will also be having some take-home readers come home, and they will also be decodable books. So the kids will get their decodable books once they know the sounds at that level, and that they can both blend and segment those sounds in order to both read and spell words with them. They'll come home as an easy text. There's something they can do confidently by themselves, and you're there to practice building up their fluency, how smoothly and how quickly they're able to read and decode the words, and put in things like expression, as well as answering some questions in the back of the book to support their growing comprehension strategies. We'll talk more about take-home reading procedures next year once the kids have started and settled in, but the kids will not bring home take-home readers from day one, because as we start school, you're going to notice that they're quite tired, and we want to go slow and steady. We don't want it to become a chore at home. So before these come home, we will absolutely take you through how to set up a take-home reading routine, and we want the kids to have positive experiences with the text, an opportunity for them to show you how much they've learnt at school. Learning how to write goes hand in hand with learning how to read in the early stages of prep. So we begin our writing instruction in the same place that we begin our reading instruction, learning the most common sounds that the letters of the alphabet make, and learning how to write those letters, how to make them with a pencil or a crayon. Then we practice our segmenting of words into individual sounds as part of phonological awareness, b, a, t, and recognizing which of those letters I'm going to need to write down to make that word. We start by building verbal sentences and then move on to writing those sentences in the second half of the year based on experience we've had. It's linked to our play-based learning program as well as our reading program and the things that we learn through non-fiction and fiction texts. Once we start writing sentences, we're introduced to the early writing process, which has 5 simple steps. First of all, we think about what we want to say. We sketch a picture out so that our idea stays clear and we can remember what we're writing. We say our sentence to somebody so that we know how many words we're going to be writing. Then we have a go at writing our words using our segmenting strategies from phonological awareness. Once we've finished our sentence, we read the message to somebody to see if we've got a sentence that makes sense. And this is something we work on for the second semester of the year in prep, and we work on it every day. And slowly but surely, one sentence becomes 2 sentences, and 2 sentences becomes an entire idea. Oral language is one of the most important aspects of English language learning because it's the foundation with which we build all of our reading and our writing skills on. So developing our oral language is a big part of early learning, and it already started in kindergarten and it continues to be a major focus for our students all the way up to year 2. We focus a lot on expanding our vocabulary, and we look a lot at the pragmatics of language and how to effectively communicate with other people around us using words. We have lots of structures in our classrooms that help our students build their vocabularies, and lots of opportunities throughout the day to be talking and sharing our thinking with our peers. So if you come down to the prep area, you're going to hear lots of noise because it's really important that we're talking a lot and we're talking often so that we can expand our vocabulary and give ourselves the opportunity to learn words from our peers as well as our teachers, and have lots of practice at using words to communicate well with other people.
The teaching of mathematics at Springside stems from the Victorian curriculum, which is organised into 3 content strands and 4 proficiency strands. The content strands are number and algebra, measurement and geometry, and statistics and probability, and they describe the content or what is to be taught and learnt. The proficiency strands are understanding, fluency, problem solving and reasoning, and they describe how the content strands are to be taught and the thinking and the doing of mathematics. One of the major concepts that we want to develop in the early years of primary school is a student's number sense. So number sense is the ability to understand numbers and the relationships between numbers. Some early number sense includes skills and knowledge like number identification, which is recognising and naming numbers, one-to-one correspondence, so this is counting by moving or referring to one item at a time, so they are not grabbing a collection or a bunch of counters and saying 1, grabbing another bunch and saying 2. They know that they have to move one item, and that is 1, grab another item, that's 2, grab another item, that's 3, and so on. And we want them to understand ordering numbers, so knowing that numbers always come in a set order. For example, 2 comes before 3, 5 comes after 4, and this doesn't change. Next we have supertizing, which is automatically recognising a visual collection or representation. For example, the way 5 is configured on a dice, we can see that and automatically know that that is 5. Or the way the 10 pins are set up in bowling, we can see that and know that that's 10 straight away. And we also have comparing, so we want students to use language such as higher and lower and more or less. So if they have a collection of 13, they know that this is more than a collection of 9, or it's less than a collection of 15. But mostly we want students having a real sound understanding of numbers 0 to 10. So if I have the number 8, for example, we want them to understand everything there is to know about 8. For example, it comes before 9, it comes after 7. We can make 8 by joining 6 and 2, or 5 and 3, or 7 and 1. And we want to develop this number sense from 0 to 10 initially, and then as the year goes on, we explore the numbers 0 to 20 in prep. The next 2 content strands we focus on at Springside in mathematics is measurement and geometry and statistics and probability. When your child is exploring measurement and geometry, they will be focusing on areas such as time, telling the time to a clock, the days of the week, 2D and 3D shapes in their everyday environment, position and location, such as I was sitting on top of the slide, I was standing next to the chair, and using everyday language to describe weight and length, such as heavier and lighter, longer and shorter. When exploring statistics and probability, they'll be reading and interpreting simple information in data displays and using yes or no questions and answers to explain their thinking. Our maths lessons are broken up into 4 elements which form our lesson structure. The first element is a warm-up, and this could be a game, a number talk, or a picture storybook that has a mathematical concept connected to it, and this promotes mathematical thinking and it generates excitement and interest within the class. Next, we have our whole class focus, where the mathematical concept is introduced. This could be in the form of explicit teaching on how to perform the concept and procedures, or it could be a problem that is posed to the class for them to go and explore themselves or in small groups. After the whole class focus, we have individual or small group work, and this is where the teacher works with small groups or individuals to develop their understanding at their level. This could be supporting students that haven't grasped a concept yet, or it could be extending those who have shown a good understanding of where the whole class is at and they need to be extended in their thinking. And finally, we have our whole class reflection time. And this is where they discuss experiences which highlight thoughtful mathematical thinking and strategies, and it revisits the learning intention which we introduced in the whole class focus. Here are some of the general principles of a maths classroom at Springside. First and foremost, we know that students learn when they feel good about themselves. Therefore, we try and develop their self-esteem and their growth mindset. We do this through rewarding effort, and we don't criticise errors. In fact, we celebrate our errors because we know that when we make a mistake, we're learning. We use mathematical vocabulary and a rich classroom environment through our everyday teaching, as well as having keywords on display. Students work things out for themselves and link new ideas to prior knowledge and previous lessons. We often don't just give the answers, we want them to work it out, talk to their peers and problem solve as they go. And because of this, we know that students need time to think and generate their answers. And not everybody finds the same answer via the same pathway. So we don't focus so much on the correct answer as we do what strategies were you using, how were you reasoning, how did you get there, and learning from our peers as well. And students are encouraged to use resources to support their learning which are available during every lesson. We have a lot of concrete materials such as counters, number lines, number charts, and students are encouraged to use whatever they find easiest to help them learn. As previously mentioned, we have a big focus on problem solving at Springside. Problem solving places a focus on the student exploring and making sense of mathematical ideas. It's not so much about what was the correct answer, but more how did that student get there, what was the strategy they used, and was it the most efficient strategy for themselves in this context. Because the focus is not limited to a specific answer, students at different ability levels can experience both challenges and successes on the same problems. This is done through providing students with open-ended problems where every student in the class can access the curriculum and the content being taught. But most of all, problem solving allows students the experience of sharing their strategies with the rest of the class. This encourages them to explain and justify and reason how they worked something out. And in turn, they can learn from their peers. So this takes away from a teacher-focused classroom where we're just telling them information, and it focuses more on the student explaining their thinking and getting excited about the maths that's being learnt.